The third act ruined this film. And
Yes.
there is no nice way to say that, and I'm sorry. Because this film, because everyone's turned this off, and I apologize because I don't want to be. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to be objective and look at a film and say the strengths and weaknesses of film from a film standpoint.
I am trying to be mean. It's f***ing awful. It's terrible.
Council Pop.
All right, kid. Council Pop, baby.
Council Pop.
Council Pop. Run it back.
Here we go.
Talking about a big one. Talking about Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Yes.
The Black Panther League!
Ain't no packing it up.
Experience the movie event you'll remember forever. Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Rated PG-13 in theaters everywhere now.
Cheers to that.
Salud,
big
baby.
movie. Big movie. Excited to discuss it. You want me to go first or you want to go first?
I like you go first.
You like to be the home team, and I don't like it.
Yeah, do it.
All right, here we go. 60 seconds on the clock. My gut reaction when I saw this film is I liked it until I got to the third act. Unfortunately, I think the third act of this film takes this film from like a B plus solid film to like a C minus. And I don't understand why Marvel makes these decisions. And I feel like that's what they are. I feel like they are Marvel decisions, like active decisions, say, oh no, we're going to do this because this is who we are, for some reason. I don't understand. I really liked a lot of the things that Ryan Coogler was trying to accomplish. I give him a ton of credit for a lot of the things that I liked. I'm assuming they're the things that come from him. But so for now, until I hear differently, I'm going to give him credit for it.
Until you call it. You give Keith a call and let him know.
Until you give me a call and we can discuss it personally. But yeah, I liked a lot about the film. There's a lot to discuss. There's a lot of great craft in this film, I think. And I just think Marvel gets in its own way sometimes. And this film suffered greatly because of it.
Yeah. All right.
60 seconds?
60 seconds.
Rebuttal?
No, I mean, unfortunately, I agree with you to a pretty decent extent, I think.
Oh, that never happens.
I thought it was good. Halfway through, a little more than halfway, I had the conscious thought to myself in the theater, wow, this is pretty damn good. This is like a good movie. But then I had the thought immediately afterwards, but the third act is coming, and as I've said many times on this show, comic book films all sort of have to fall apart in the third act because they get stupid and they try big things to like round everything up. And I think this will transition into my 3 keys a little bit because one of my main keys is talking about like the machine of Marvel like has certain boxes they have to check, and that often gets in the way of just telling a really great story on film. And I think for a lot of this movie, it was a really great story. So I think the movie was good, but I wouldn't say it was a good movie. Because I don't think, like looking at it as a film, I don't think this was just like a good film. Like I think it started really, I thought it could have been. But that third act is just like comic book schlock. Like it just totally falls apart. You know, for 2 acts, for 2/3 of a 3-hour movie, it was like pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
So you can't ask for much more these days, I'm afraid.
I'd like to. You just won't get it.
Yeah. Let's talk about our 3 keys, and then we'll just go freestyling.
Excuse me. Getting over a little cold here.
Got that COVID, baby. You
You
have a little bit of this and burn that shit right out of you. This is why COVID doesn't stand a chance in my body, because nothing can survive inside of my body.
Yeah, I don't know anyone. COVID take a look in there and be like, no, thank you.
It's just brine. It's all pickled in here.
It's all pickled.
The bottom of an olive jar in here. I don't know how to key one. I don't know how to judge these films, Keith, because they're not really movies anymore, as the great Martin Scorsese has pointed out quite infamously to the world of comic book fandom. the theme park ride aspect, and I don't mean this as an insult. We've talked about this before. Talked about it most recently in that Doctor Strange debacle of a film episode that we did. But like, so I don't even mean it
to be insulting.
Meanly. Yeah. I mean it as just like they have to do so much more than just be a good film. And I say they have to because it's a business. This is a corporation. It's a business. It's a platform for introducing new IP for the world of Disney Plus and future cinematic universes. And so there's so many more things that these movies have to do, and just being like a quality piece of artistic cinema is not really a priority as much as it is just entertain the people, get them in, as you pointed out, I think in Doctor Strange, like give them something to talk about. Who's gonna win the match today? Who are the new characters? Who's gonna win this big fight? So as I watch a film like this that starts with so much potential and is such like this intimate, wonderful story about a family grieving, and then it spirals into just totally fucking farcical comic book kind of awfulness. Yeah. Like, it's hard for me to walk away. It's hard for me to walk away from this movie and say that movie was bad, because it wasn't bad. Yeah. Like, and it was really great at a lot of really important aspects of what that film needed to do. It just, you can't look at it in a silo and say this is a great film, because it's not. The third act is shitty and stupid. Like,
yeah. The film's, really the theme is about this family grieving. You said that, and that's a small, personal story, sort of as it should be. And in my opinion, it's how a lot of these films should have been, especially when you're introducing new characters. I mean, the first film I thought of when I was sort of thinking about this as this film was going on, I go, this is what Shang-Chi should have been. Shang-Chi should have been this personal story about a family at odds, falling, out of ideologies, conflicting ideologies between a father and a son, and they have to fight physically, emotionally over where their family's going to go, and then obviously the rings, the power of the rings, blah blah blah, and like, have that be the core of your story. And I think most people who see that movie and like comic books say that's what it was, Keith, but it wasn't, because there was soul-sucking demons and an extinction level event that happens at the end. It's like, that's not a personal tale. Like, it's just not. It's just not. That's not how.
In like some mystical fairy land.
Yeah, it just doesn't. That's not what that is, unfortunately. So that's what this film was allowed to be. Is I think Marvel had a clear statement going into this film. They got a little bit of taste of that Oscar love from the last version of this film, Black Panther 1. And I think Feige says, hey, go get me an Oscar. Find an Oscar somewhere in this film. And the places that jump out to me is they say the directing. I think they're going to look at Angela Bassett for a supporting actress nomination. I think they're going to look at Rihanna for best song.
That song's winning 100%.
Yeah, I just think they said, go do it. That's the expectation that Marvel said, go win us one. And then I think it's super interesting that when we get to the third, we get 2 hours into the film, they go, no, fuck that though, because we're going to do what we normally do. We're still going to do this. But
CGI crazy
fight.
fight.
Big crazy CGI fight where the stakes are super muddy and messy, like you mentioned before. Like, it's just, and we'll get into it. We'll get into the third act. I want to be more specific than I am now. But I just think that's super interesting that Marvel could, with one breath, out of the same mouth, say, go get me an Oscar, and then do just contradictory, dumb shit to marvel it up for comic book fans.
It's because they feel like they have to, because it has to be everything for everybody. That it's let
it be though. Just let it be.
It's a product. No, I know. I agree.
I know.
But this is they're products, so it has to be. Let's make the more money than God. This movie has to make that, but we also want to be taken seriously. But we also have to have like crazy CGI fest at the end. So, the meat and potatoes crowd can come and enjoy the movie, but it also needs to be this story of grief, because we want Oscars. They can't not do it. And so that's why I can't judge these movies, because as a movie, it's bad because it falls apart. But It could have been good. I don't blame Ryan Coogler for it not being great. I certainly don't blame the performers for it not being great. I don't even really blame like the writers or other sort of like behind the scenes people, because I'm sure, and we don't know, we're not in the rooms, but I'm sure there's like, look, you need to put Ironheart into this movie, and she needs to be wearing a goddamn iron suit by the end of it, and you need to introduce the Midnight Angels or whatever, and give Okoye and the other girl these new uniforms with armor that can fly, and like,
toys.
You need to do all this stuff that makes the film worse. So you're kind of up a creek. This is the best version of what we can ever expect from sort of like a standalone Marvel film. Because what even is a standalone Marvel film? That's another reason I don't know how to judge these movies, because
This is the most standalone Marvel film that I think Marvel's ever made. And it goes back to my original thought of where they say, okay, we're gonna break the mold because we want to achieve something with this. We want this to be held in the same regard as other good art type films. So go be sort of standalone. I think that's a conscious decision for 90% of the, for 60% of the movie. 70% of the movie.
And that's one of the things that made it great for the first two acts, or give or take, was that it's about, like we talked about, the family grieving. It's a smaller tale, and it's not even that much action. The action is sort of like, as an aside, there's some moments of confrontation, and it all feels kind of like purposeful until it's not in a major way, and then it's just stupidity.
I feel like, and if you're a hardcore Marvel fan and you're still here at this point, I'm very curious to learn and to know if you like this film. Because when I was watching this film, I think for most of it, it's like sort of the opposite of what you would expect from a typical Marvel movie today. Much like Doctor Strange, you just jump into the middle of an action scene in a CGI world that doesn't exist, and there's gonna be crazy light beams and crazy just hand gestures with smoke and mirrors and all this bullshit, monsters and blah, blah, blah. And then you like calm down. You're like, okay, now what's this story about? You know, and like, but this is the complete opposite of that. It comes in on a small level, a personal level, the death of a son, of a brother, and then how this city, how Wakanda is gonna move past that, how this family is gonna move past that. It's very personal in that sense. So and there's very little action, and I know that's something you want to talk about, so use this as a nice segue, but there's very little action and no giant set pieces for a large chunk of the film, which to me was so refreshing, which I enjoyed so much, and I don't understand why they can't have more of a balance. I can't understand, because again, I think if you're a Marvel fan, like a comic book fan, you're coming for the fun, entertainment. Do you like this movie? Honestly, were you like, this was awesome? Because I can imagine you don't.
That's the thing, is by trying to appeal to everyone, which is what all of these movies try to do now. And this one, I think, has to do that on an even grander scale, since sort of like the mythos or the ethos of Black Panther has become such like a culturally relevant thing for so many people, and it holds like great weight and great importance, and then almost amplified by the awful tragic death of Chadwick Boseman. Like they know that this movie holds more power than just your average comic book film or even your average movie. Like, a lot of people ascribe a lot of importance to this, and that is like no small thing. But they also want to make $20 billion, so they have to add in all of that kind of like superficial comic book shit. So by trying to appeal to everyone, you kind of appeal to not anyone, because I think the people that come for like the culture and the story and the performances and like all this important stuff that's happening like that part, and probably don't really like a lot of the kind of crazier over the topness of certain aspects. And then I bet you like your stereotypical comic book fan who just wants to see their favorite heroes duking it out is like, God, this shit's boring. Like, how much time do we need to,
there's too much backstory. There's too much,
all these drama scenes and you know, kind of social commentary and things like that like, so you just have the fucking guts to make that movie that doesn't. So that's my second key, is the action.
Yeah.
Cut the fucking action. Like, If not entirely, definitely the final scene. Like, it's not like that action was so wonderful or profound. Like, there were other ways you could have rounded out Shuri and Namor's argument, and for them to come to a peace, because I thought that was really forced and stupid, and I thought the fighting was stupid and no stakes, and I didn't understand what was happening. It just fucking just takes me out of it, especially after this 2 hours of like, I'm really invested in these characters because they did such a wonderful job. So just have it be a drama film about grieving that has a couple of like short, brief, like visceral little action moments, and then make it like, then you're in the Best Picture nominees. Like, movies have not been great this year. If you didn't have all that stupid shit at the end, you would be talking about this as like a front runner if they just kept that tone consistent. Yeah.
Do you know what one of my favorite scenes is the fight that Okoye has with the blue guy, blue man.
No, I'm afraid I just blew myself.
I don't remember his name. On the bridge down the street from my house, close to MIT.
Yeah, I thought about that too.
You know, that whole area, very close to where I live. Very nice to see the sights and sounds.
Don't go swimming in Charles.
Don't do it. But on that bridge, that fight, because it wasn't one of your classic quippy one-liners, punch, punch. Ooh, I thought you were gonna be tough. Punch, punch. Another joke as we're wrestling or whatever. That was a very raw emotion from a warrior who is undefeated, getting punched in the mouth, and then feeling the fear that she might die, like that she's outmatched. The performance I thought was excellent at that very moment, where I like felt it. I go, oh shit, this is a warrior now feeling fear for the first time. And it's not because the world's gonna end. It's not because there's 1,000 army men coming down on you and what are you gonna do? It was because there was a one-on-one fight, and she fear crept into her mind. She had doubt creep into her mind, like, oh shit. That element of like human drama and fear portrayed on the screen in this setting, I was like, oh man, that's fucking really good. That's really good. So I don't want to remove that action. I want to remove CGI armies. Like, I agree that totally, 100%. So there's a difference in what we're saying. There's nuance, guys.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I would rather have none of the action than what was there. So if you made me choose at gunpoint, I would say take it all out. I know that also wouldn't be a great comic book film, but it might just be a great film, which is, should be what we strive for. But yes, I liked a lot of the smaller action pieces too, with the glaring exception of that third act and a lot of what Riri Williams' Ironheart was doing. I thought that, just like you mentioned Shang-Chi as a slight aside, I thought Shang-Chi would have been so much better, as you sort of alluded to, if the rings were kind of the ultimate goal and they weren't so present throughout the film. And so it's like the Jaws, the showing the shark at the end. Like, show me the power at the end, and then it means something. And I would have liked it more if this Ironheart character, who I thought was great in a million ways, and I really liked that, the performance and the introduction I thought was natural enough, but then she's wearing a fucking Iron Man suit at the end, and it's just like, okay, so we're already there. We're just fast forwarding into
She's
them
already
letting
Iron
this
Man.
19-year-old stranger fight in this hugely consequential battle. Like, get the fuck out of here. That's stupid. So,
yes,
sorry.
with no experience, with no battle. She's a scientist. She's a brilliant woman. Like, great, awesome. She goes to MIT. Like, I get it. You've done enough groundwork for me to say, oh, you're brilliant. Yeah. But you do no groundwork to be like, she should be in the middle of this World War III type style bloodfest of a fight. Like, where did this come? Like, we'll get to the third act. It's littered with.
She was fucking terrified down there in that cave, but now she's like brave as fuck and she's ready to.
Now all of a sudden we can do this because what?
Yeah, it's a little much. It's just a little much.
We'll get to more third act
Slow
nonsense.
play it. Have her help you design stuff back at the base, and then she's ready. Then when that series hits, we're ready to watch her take her next step. We can take steps here. Take steps.
Yeah, because you sign these people for 6 movies and 2 TV shows. Like, we don't need it right now. We don't need it right now from certain characters.
Did we talk about your second key? We did, yeah? Was that part of that?
My second key is...
the third act.
Oh, the third act. Are we here? Are we ready to dance?
We're here. Yeah.
This fucking movie, it's terrible. It took this movie, again, which I thought was like a B+, like really, really solid film all around, to like a C-, because what the fuck is going on? Like, what the fuck was going on? The thing that bothered me the most is the fucking resolution. The resolution to this film, I truly hated. Because if it was just some fucking bullshit compromise, then we could have done this 2 acts ago. We could have done this when we were sitting down peacefully and talk and I understand that in real life, maybe you have to have conflict and then you settle on a resolution. Like, I get it, but this isn't real life. You're writing this film. You can control the narrative. You shouldn't show me how the film ends the first time and then just do the same thing a little bit later. It's the same thing. They have the conversation. We should work together. There could be peace. And then they just come to a compromise. I'll keep your secret. You don't kill the lady. Great. We did it. We did it 2 acts ago. We did it 2 acts ago. Like, what the fuck? What are we doing? It just frustrated me so much. On top of the fact, I think it was a huge mistake to have that fight happen isolated from everybody else. And Wakanda's losing. She comes over and goes, and they come over and they go, no, guys, call off the dogs. We're cool now. And everyone goes, Wakanda forever. Like, that's your big emotional fucking, I love Wakanda forever. This is so, like, I want to see my champions win more than anything at this moment in time for so many fucking reasons. And you give me, we cruise in on some magical ship and go, we're cool. We cool, everyone. We're good.
The 9 people that are left who are all the main characters are just the people like, oh, good. Glad we patched that up. As we're standing here smelling the blood of our friends.
Yeah. Everyone is about to die. They're overmanned, they're gunned down, and they just go, we're cool. And we go, yeah, we did it. You fucking lost. Like, you lost. And oh man, I was so angry. At that resolution, because it just undercuts any emotional success and happiness I would have for Wakanda, for Shuri. It undercut everything. And I don't understand why. Like, how could you not see that? How do you not see that? It just seems very obvious and very basic to me, but I'm a moron. So.
Well, you are, but that doesn't take away from your point here. No, I agree. I honestly lost track of my thoughts and feelings, because it is not just that it's the CGI fight fest, as like you're saying, because that's one thing, and that's a broken record. Like, God, they always end with these stupid CGI fights. But this one, had the stupid CGI fight and also had all these nonsensical, it's like it just totally forgot how to be a good movie. The zero stakes. We often talk about needing to understand sort of the rules of what's happening, because if I don't understand what could happen, what might happen, how this person might get hurt if this happens, how this person might defeat this person if this happens, you have to have some sense, some perspective of the situation. 100%. And for that final fight especially, there was zero perspective, and that's partially the directing to blame, because even if it's as simple as give me an establishing shot where I can have a sense of where these people are and how I just felt lost.
I think they do that on purpose. I think it's interesting that you say that. I think they do that on purpose so they can always cut to whatever situation they want to. Because if you know that someone's over here doing this, and then they're just over here, continuity-wise, I think they do it on purpose. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine. I bet you're right, but that makes it bad. That's a problem. And with the introduction sort of crammed in there of Ironheart in this new suit that we just saw her kind of spray painting for a minute. I don't know what that suit can do. Is that as strong as Iron Man's suit? Is it invincible? Oh, okay, it can go underwater. Okay, cool. Can it do this? What can it not do? What can it do? And then also the Midnight Angel outfits that they gave Okoye and the other woman. Oh, they can fly. They can fly all of a sudden. Oh, they're just bringing them in later into the fight. Why didn't you just have them there if that was so important? And then it got even worse as it just went to Shuri and Namor fighting, because I had no fucking okay, so he's Hulk strong and like seems kind of invincible, but she cut his wing off super easy. So okay, so that hurt him. What's happening?
I thought that too. It's like, what does that mean? Like you cutting it, is that a big deal? Or are those
is it going to grow back? Is it like, how does this affect him?
Can he not
moving
fly
forward?
anymore because you cut his wing off? Like,
and she holds it up like it's some big
like
moment.
it's a trophy.
And I bet you there's people that were like, yeah. But like I was like, I don't know what this means.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Like, I didn't even know she could do that. And then when he impales her, I was oh, okay, so the suit blocks bullets and all this other stuff, but it can't block the spear. So that I didn't know that was a possibility. So that happens, it doesn't hurt me because I was like, oh, I'm more confused.
I'm saying it right now. I'm sick and tired of Marvel shooting things as if people are going to die. I can name 3 off the top of my head where they did the same thing. This movie, Spider-Man, the last Spider-Man, when they stabbed Tobey Maguire, and Infinity War, where they stabbed Tony Stark. All 3 of those situations, it's a stab to the gut, and the reaction, close shot, reaction. I like fully knowing well and good that person's not gonna die. But we're treating it as if that hero is going to die, and that's going to be an amazing moment. Like, not amazing, that's probably not the right way to phrase it, but like a powerful moment where for a second in my head I go, is she gonna die? Are they killing her? I bought it. But it's such a cheap fucking emotional trick to play on your audience. It's cheap. It's just fucking cheap to position it that way just to get me to feel that way on purpose. It's not like you earn that. You know,
well, then she pulls herself off and it just like, brrr, and then you never hear about it anymore.
And then she's fine. And then I mean, that's a separate thing, but I'm just so fucking tired of that cheap emotional ploy to get me to feel the way you want me to feel at that moment. It's just fucking cheating, in my opinion. It bothers me. But to your point, yes, it meant nothing. And why? Why? How? Like, how?
Like, I have to know that that's a possibility. Like, oh, it's a new suit that's a prototype and all the old ones were destroyed. So she wore this one that's not quite as strong. It's like, there has to be, like, I know that's stupid too, but like, there has to be some level of like awareness for the audience. And the worst one, the biggest, because that fight was just like one thing after another. When her final move of like burning him with the jet thing, was like,
I had no idea.
I had never even seen that thing was right there. Like, it doesn't mean anything.
I didn't know what she did.
Filmmaking 101.
I didn't know what she did.
And then again, because I had no perspective of like their battleground and what was happening, and she says this thing and the thing blows up, or is that how he starts his ship or something? Like, I have no idea.
No,
And so by the time that happened, and it's supposed, like, it should be the most dramatic moment of the film. And there is nothing inside of me that felt anything. And then it's just like, hey, we're good though, right?
No, but
like,
we're cool.
So it was just one thing after another where it was like, oh my God, the last 20 minutes of this are fucking awful.
It goes to nonsense land. It goes to nonsense land.
I was gonna say not Doctor Strange awful, but like awful almost in that way. Like,
pretty close.
It's just whatever. Yeah, and that's really sad. It's just really sad.
And it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating.
Okay, key 3. Let's talk about some positivity for a minute before we get back to fucking tearing this
shitting all over this movie. What you wanna? It's your turn, right?
Yeah, it's the performances.
Yeah,
that was one of the things that stuck with me the most, and I think it's one of the things that's being talked about the most.
Who you got?
As universally adored, because they are all top to bottom, I think. Just about. Really, really good. I think you're highlighted by, I think Letitia Wright does a great job as Shuri. I think she's great. I think she's great. I think Angela Bassett is obviously incredible, as anyone would come to expect. I think I loved so much about this film, like, particularly in the beginning. I love that it was basically an Angela Bassett movie. Well, the first half. She was the main character. Yeah. And I was like, yes, in the year 2022, Angela Bassett is like the lead of a huge film, a huge IP. Like, I just think that's fucking awesome.
I said to myself in my head, not out loud, I said, thank God they cast Angela Bassett in the first one. Because she wouldn't be in this position without the untimely death of Chadwick Boseman. And how because I feel like she was underutilized in the first one. Like, she's barely in the first one. So you go out and get this big star and a tremendous talent and don't use her. And if Chadwick Boseman's still alive, they probably don't use, like, what's her role if doesn't exist?
Yeah, it's not as much, yeah.
How lucky they are to have her to fall back on. Because she carries the film, and her presence, her command, and her performance, it was excellent. And I do think she should be at least considered. Like, I would consider her for a best supporting actress.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Absolutely.
Lupita Nyong'o, who has really affirmed herself as the all-star hottie of this generation. Just she is
beautiful.
She is fine and just so good. So, I mean, good in everything.
What you doing out here with all this ass? Double cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon.
Really, really great stuff from her. I thought the actress, forgive me for not knowing Riri Williams, Ironheart, I thought she was great. Like, they all did good. Winston Duke, I feel like Us has kind of ruined Winston Duke for me, because in the first Black Panther, I was like, God, this fucking rugged guy, he's all brute strength.
No,
and then
he's
Us,
great.
he's just kind of like a dark.
Now the cops are already on their way.
And so now I look at him, I'm just like, you're a dork, bro.
No,
Like,
he's
you
got
did
range.
too good. You did too good in Us.
He's got range. He could do it all. I like him. I was another person I was disappointed that didn't really have more to do. I was upset with that. I was like, just like, why wasn't he a bigger role?
I believe I might butcher the pronunciation, so I apologize. But Danai, Gurira, Okoye.
Oh,
she's
yeah,
phenomenal.
I don't know. Yeah, but she's
She's
great.
phenomenal.
She was great. As I mentioned, my favorite scene was with her. How dare you not mention Namor? I thought he was great too.
Oh, I gotta watch a fucking 15-second ad for a 15-second video.
It's gonna be a good day.
Going to Walmart.
How to pronounce Tenoch Huerta.
Tenoch. Huerta. I know the Huerta. It's tough. I can't go in and out of my Spanish. So it's like whatever sentence I'm saying anything in. That's why I don't say my name like Duran, even though that's how you say it, Duran. Because then I'm like, hey, my name's Ev Duran. And then it's like, okay, no, you can bring it back. Scale it back, dog. So I just say Duran.
Yeah.
Tenoch.
I say Duran too.
Tenoch Huerta.
You
liked it.
I did like him very much. I thought his performance I thought it was excellent. I thought it was really like subtle and understated with some like strength behind it. I thought he exuded strength quietly, which is very un-Marvel-like. I thought a lot of the performances were un-Marvel-like. There's some really talented actors doing talented things because of they're letting their performances sort of speak for themselves rather than like sort of reaching a little bit for those moments of like intensity and strength and it wasn't like that. I thought he really had some nice command and some presence and some strength underneath his words, which is nice. It was really good.
The problem with that character I have is not him. It's that, and this is sort of the constraints of a Marvel film, you know that, like most people that know anything about general comic book stuff know that Namor is sort of like an anti-hero a little bit. He's a good guy, he's a bad guy. So you go into this with your primary threat, your antagonist, being someone that you know is gonna be around for a while and will probably be on the Avengers in a few years.
Right.
So that like hurts your film. So that's another reason why my first key, I don't know how to judge these movies, because they come with so much knowledge, like pre-recorded knowledge, where I'm just like, I can never really believe the stakes anyways, because I know they're all gonna be friends at the end. And so that's why when, as you said, it looked like Shuri might die, like he might have killed her, I was like, ooh, this might have just saved this third act. Because that's fascinating, and then he's a real villain. I know he's like responsible for the mom's death, but not directly.
But in the softest fucking way possible. They did everything they could to keep his hands clean. It's another nitpick that I have. Like, it was very clear. Like, they don't want to do something where they can't take it back. Where fans be like, oh no, he just murdered whomever with his bare hands.
Yeah. But I think about like, I was thinking after the fact where it's like, I wish, like, you know, for just my selfish film geek mind, I wish he had killed Shuri, and then his journey would have been the most interesting in the MCU of having to bring someone back from that precipice of evil and disdain. You just killed this beloved protagonist that's herself dealing with the grief of the actual real life loss of this other beloved protagonist. And now how long is it gonna take the writers to bring him back? It reminds me, I know you're not as familiar with Game of Thrones, but Jaime Lannister is a main character who in the first episode of that show, in the pilot episode, shoves a kid out of a window from 8 stories up and cripples this kid for life because the kid happened to be climbing outside the window and saw Jaime Lannister having sex with his own sister. And so this is the most evil man there is. Like, you're like, this guy fucking sucks. And he's played up to be this awful villain for the first several seasons. And by the end, you're like rooting for him. You're like, I don't know when it was that I started thinking Jaime Lannister's the best person here, but it happened. And that made him such an interesting character. They completely destroyed it at the end, as they did with everything else in that show.
Yeah.
But like, that's what I want. Like, that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
And it would have surprised you. You know, would have surprised me.
I thought everything that wasn't CG was gorgeous. Like, I thought that the funeral scene, like, breathtaking.
Yeah.
Like, fucking breathtaking. Beautifully shot, beautifully directed. Like, it looked crisp, clear, like, beautiful, like, just fucking beautiful. Emotional, like, really high level cinematography and filmmaking. There was there was a couple scenes in like the woods that felt like just like natural light lit.
Yeah, like they were standing in woods, which I was really happy about.
Yeah, but like just felt like real and raw and organic. Like it felt like filmmaking. It felt like filmmaking.
Yeah, it did.
So there's a handful of scenes that I could like point to and go like, oh, that's like artistic, craft, well done, amazing. And then the next scene is CGI nonsense that looks fake and just shitty in comparison. Like when they're so close to each other, like I can get lost if like all of it is just whatever. Like fine, I'll buy in. But when you go cut, and I go, how could you choose that? Like it was the first time I felt like I was on your side. It was first time like it really kind of clicked for me in this film. Where just some of those shots were beautiful. And then
it makes a difference.
It makes a difference. It makes a difference.
It feels more impactful. And I bet you they did that because they were like, this is the part that's the most directly in tribute to Chadwick. We have to do this right. This has to be genuine. And that is how all filmmakers should approach all of their films. Like, so I completely agree. That was another reason why halfway through the film I had that thought, like, wow, they're doing really great here. This is really awesome, because a lot of it seemed like real locations.
Real locations, yeah.
And a couple noticeable exceptions, like Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Martin Freeman on the bridge. They never saw a bridge. Like that was rough. Like that was rough green screen use. That's so unnecessary. Take them to the fucking bridge. Like, oh, they couldn't fly out of LA for 3 days. Like it's just stupid.
Schedules.
Yeah, because that looks so glistening and fake, and they all have this glow around them. And then, yeah, obviously it becomes CGI awfulness. But this movie was weird to me because, like, a movie like Doctor Strange was like, wow, this CG is terrible throughout. And then there's other movies where, like Infinity War, where you're like, wow, this CG is top shelf whole time. This movie was kind of uneven to me, like almost shot to shot within the same action sequence, where there'd be one effect where you're like, wow, that looks really great. And then there's Namor like jumping weird and has like a weird like black outline around him as he's flying. And you're just like, oh, that was, needed a little more time on that. So that was kind of jarring in a sense. It's not as bad as some, but also weirdly inconsistent for a big movie.
Yeah, I just want the whole film to be shot in real places. That's what it made me want. It just made me really want that. Yeah.
It gets me all hot and bothered.
That's what I do.
Talking practical locations. My God, who would have thought? Who would have thought that's an important part of filmmaking?
I know what Daddy likes. So it's worth mentioning because it was the most I've ever felt this way Because I can suspend my disbelief, obviously, more than you, but not this time.
Yeah, I just don't want it to snap me out of the film, which is it often does in a lot of these movies. A couple things I want to say in praise of it is I loved the opening sequence, the opening title, the Marvel logo. I thought was just beautifully done. And I was in a theater that was not very crowded. I caught it like on a Sunday matinee. So it was just silent. It was silent for that whole part. And I loved that the logo itself was silent. And they made that decision. And it just had shots of Chadwick. And I started crying. And I was not expecting that. I was not expecting to be so moved at any point during this film. And I really loved that they did that. And I liked even that they showed him again at the end as she was reflecting and it got silent again. But I did have the thought like, wow, I bet it would have been equally powerful in a different way to have seen it like opening night, crowded theater, if people had all broken into applause and cheers. Like that would have also been really affecting in a different way, but it's like a win-win. It was a really great way, and to your earlier point, to just kind of cold open it with emotion really works.
Yeah, I guess we could wrap it up on a really sad note. But how do you feel that they handled his death? Do you like the vagueness of it?
No.
Okay.
I thought they did a great job, except for that.
What would you have liked to see?
I don't know. I would like, and maybe this sounds, because I think they did that because it so accurately mirrors what the real life Chadwick Boseman was going through. Like he hid his disease, and then it just came out all at once. And I get why they would do that as like a very moving tribute or representation of him. But like selfishly, within the context of the film and that story, like if, let's say, just for argument's sake, Chadwick Boseman didn't die, but they decided that his character was done. Like they decided this is the way we want to make this movie anyways, we're gonna write him out.
Yeah.
Nobody would be okay with them just being like, mystery disease. Like, you know what I mean? Like I know that's hard to remove the reality from the situation, but imagine that happened. You'd be like, tell me what the fuck happened. Like I need to have some idea. It doesn't have to be right off the bat, like, oh, it was some fast moving thing, but I would like it to incorporate into the grander story of Marvel. And maybe it will, who knows? Maybe it's some virus the Silver Surfer came and gave him, you know, like who the fuck knows? But I'd like something like that.
I agree. I think when it first happened, I thought they were gonna like circle back to it at the end or closer to the end and give you a little more context into like what happened. To me, it was one or the other. I needed one of the other, and I got neither. One is more explanation of how he died. Like, what's the story? What happened? I mean, I'm part of the reason I think everyone wants to see this movie is to see how they were gonna handle his death. So some people may make the case like, oh, we don't want to exploit his death. I would make the argument that his death is already being exploited because that's why people are going to see the film. That is a major contributor to it. We just naturally want to see it. So give me something. Give me something rather than a vague explanation.
Yeah.
Or two, keep it vague, but have the fact that he is no longer there play more of an active role within what's happening in the film. And that didn't really happen either outside of the family is grieving. Like,
no, I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
But
because the film is about people seeing Wakanda as weak now because they've lost their leader, they've lost their Panther. So they're attacking. They would have never done that if he was still alive.
America?
Huh?
Well, no, I guess it wasn't America. What was it? France?
It was like America and France, and it's everybody. They're all trying to come in and exploit and colonize.
I guess.
Like the events of the film wouldn't have happened if the Western powers.
So I disagree. So like you're right about that part, but that became a much smaller part. The film is about Namor and his city and them trying to stay hidden and what means they would go to do that. That whole plot line about like the major thing that's happening in the film had nothing to do. They weren't attacking because they were weak. They weren't attacking because
they were, but separately from Namor's stuff. So I'll meet you halfway. The Namor stuff, the deep sea drilling or whatever, was happening independently of Wakanda being weak. So I'll agree with you there.
Yes,
But
and Namor's
Wakanda's outreach centers being attacked was happening because
was happening. Yes, yes.
T'Challa was.
But that wasn't the main. If that was what the film was about, that conflict, I guess it's. You're right. I'll meet you halfway. I half disagree with myself at this point too. So you're right.
Perfect.
I guess you're right.
Okay, let's end it on this.
Okay.
Are you uplifted and super happy that he has a child? And that was. Tell me the mid credits. Your reaction.
I was indifferent. I feel like this is gonna sound too negative than I want it to be, but I was indifferent or even like not that excited, only because I feel like Marvel is so heavily going with just like children of superheroes. You know, Thor: Love and Thunder ended the same exact way, and I just saw that movie, and it's like, oh well, we have another kid that's just gonna take.
After 20 minutes.
You turned what off?
Thor: Love and Thunder. 20 minutes. That's as far as I can make it.
Oh, I thought you were talking about. So I just I feel like, Wanda's kids are such a big deal. Like they're gonna grow up to be superheroes. Like there's so many kids that are just like planted that are gonna become the next. So I was like, okay, this is just another one of those things. We're just so indifferent at best.
Yeah, perfect. Great answer, Keith. Because that's why I was asking, because I just wanted to complain about children for a brief moment here at the end, because I don't know when this happened, like when, like maybe the algorithms told all these studios and companies that like, you know what kids like? Seeing other kids. Because when I was a kid, I didn't give a shit if I was watching kids save the world. I liked watching anybody save the world, and then I would pretend to be that person. I almost would rather it was an adult. I'd rather sit and be like, I'm Captain America. Me and my friends would always do that. I'm him, you're him, you're him.
Yeah,
I'm Captain America, you're Iron Man, we were never like, I'm Wanda's child. I'm that little boy. Like, who wants that? So yes, there are too many kids. Logan did that. Logan was such a cool movie, and then at the end, it's fucking a parade of children fucking saving the day. Like Ghostbusters, I'm not even talking superhero IP. Ghostbusters Afterlife, it's about kids. Like, who told these people that we need children, like movies surrounding or about children saving stuff? Like,
well, do you want the answer?
Yes.
Longevity. Everything you named is a monumental IP. And how do we get 30 years out of this IP? Well, we start when they're kids. So we just gotta make sure that we just have kids. We're just gonna get more kids and we're gonna watch them grow up because they don't wanna hire Robert Downey Jr. anymore at the tail end of his career because there's only so much he can do. He can't be Iron Man for 30 years. He can be Iron Man for 10.
I know, but you also don't want, like, who wants to watch a bunch of fucking kids?
I don't. I'm not agreeing. I'm just saying.
Because my point is, kids don't even want to watch kids.
Yeah.
Like, so what do you do? Like, yeah, sure, longevity, but get them when they're 27 then. Like, introduce your nephew who's older. Like, we don't need to watch these fucking 12-year-olds, like, taking on, like, what? It's not fucking Spy Kids. Like, it's just, like, they can have their own thing, sure. But for every IP, every Marvel story now, I think even that, what was the show? She-Hulk, which I, of course, did not watch. That ended with the Hulk having a child. Did you see that? The Hulk has a son.
I watched the whole thing.
Just fucking shoved in there as an afterthought in the last episode.
Like,
here's my son. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, like, I agree. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. I want, selfishly, like an adult, I want different universes for different demographics. Like, do an adult universe, do a kids universe, do a porno universe.
Do an adults only universe. Marvel, there's money to be made in every genre.
They're really called the Triple X Men.
Yeah. Hey, the Triple X. Dude, I guarantee that's out there. And I guarantee it because I've seen it. No, I'm just kidding. That has to be out there.
Sure. I just came up with it. I'm a genius.
Insert clip.
Oh my God, Gene, what are you doing?